5 signs indicating that an elderly person may be in their final year of life. Quiet warnings you shouldn't ignore. Please note, the text is provided for informational purposes only and does not constitute a medical diagnosis. If you notice serious changes in a loved one's condition, be sure to consult a doctor. Imagine visiting your elderly relative or close friend and noticing over time something troubling in their behavior or well-being. These might be subtle changes, initially hardly noticeable, like slightly less energy than usual or a mild lack of interest in their usual activities. Most people tend to attribute it all to just old age, continuing to live as before. But sometimes the body begins preparing a person for the final stage months or even a whole year before the worst happens, a passing from this life. Many families admit that only upon reflection, looking back at the older person's behavior and complaints, do they realize that all the alarm bells had been ringing for quite a while, but at the time, no one gave them enough attention. Recognizing these signs in advance means you can be better prepared emotionally, provide higher quality care, arrange the necessary support, and manage to say everything important. There's no need to fear these warnings. They don't always mean that the end is inevitable very soon, but they do indicate that the body is shifting into a special mode and requires understanding, respect, and heightened attention. In this piece, we'll examine 5 typical indicators that often arise in an elderly person about a year before they pass away. Perhaps you've already noticed something similar, but haven't attached significance to it. Or maybe you're just starting to see changes now. The goal here is to help you recognize subtle signs of an approaching final stage of life and understand how to act so that your loved one remains as comfortable as possible and you're left with fewer regrets. Stay with us until the end. This knowledge could be invaluable during a difficult time. Sign 1. A noticeable weakening of the immune system and frequent ailments. One of the earliest obvious signals that an elderly person's body is entering a period of serious decline can be a weakening of the immune system. You notice that someone who used to get sick rarely or only mildly now catches every cold from the grandchildren's sneezes or picks up any random flu that comes in with visitors. Every bout of illness drags on. Small injuries and cuts heal noticeably more slowly, and any complications become more severe. Why does this happen? With age, protective mechanisms naturally weaken. However, when we're talking about the final stretch of life, the immune system can dip especially sharply. The body no longer has enough resources to fully combat infections. Phagocytes and lymphocytes, defender cells, function less efficiently, and antibody production can be reduced. Moreover, if there are chronic illnesses, diabetes, heart failure, kidney diseases, the body's burden increases and the immune system doesn't keep up with recovering after each new stress. How it manifests. The elderly person constantly complains of slight malaise, headaches, or just weakness that appears without a clear reason. Even a minor cold develops into bronchitis or a lingering cough. Dental or gum issues, like inflamed gums, occur more frequently and take longer to heal. There's a higher likelihood of chronic ailments flaring up, perhaps kidney trouble one week and the next, it's high blood pressure from heart issues. What should the family do? It's important to pay careful attention to vaccination schedules, for example, flu or pneumococcal vaccines, following a doctor's advice, and also not to ignore even small inflammations or sores on the skin. Keep in mind that prolonged illnesses and constant use of antibiotics can further undermine an already weakened body. If the condition doesn't improve, the goal shouldn't just be to treat a specific problem, but also to consider overall status. Are they drinking enough fluids? Is their diet, as far as possible, balanced? Are they not under too much stress? Sometimes, at this stage, the best move is to shift from aggressive treatments to supportive care, rather than endlessly trying to defeat the illness, focus on symptom relief, giving the person more rest, and alleviating pain if it arises. This approach can improve quality of life when the body is devoting its last energies not to recovery, but rather to a calm existence. Sign 2. Dramatic mood swings and personality changes. Many people notice that an elderly relative who seems to be in their final year of life can abruptly change in terms of character. Some become withdrawn and irritable, while others, on the contrary, suddenly calm or indifferent to what used to concern them. And mood changes often happen unexpectedly, without any logical trigger. The person might cry over something trivial or, alternatively, laugh in situations that don't seem funny. This frequently leads to misunderstandings in the family, as relatives can't grasp why grandma or grandpa is reacting so strangely. What's behind this? Systemic changes are occurring within the body: hormonal balance, metabolism, neurotransmitters in the brain. All of these are gradually restructuring. If blood supply to the brain is reduced, the areas responsible for regulating emotions may work erratically. Additionally, there's the heavy emotional background, a realization of helplessness, the unspoken thought of a nearing end, which can remain unvoiced yet cause intense internal anxiety. Examples of manifestations. The person suddenly loses interest in things that mattered for years. They stop watching their favorite TV programs, stop reading newspapers they used to read regularly. Suspicion may appear: they're not giving me enough food, you're hiding something from me. Some family members mistakenly interpret this as senile dementia, though in some cases it's simply an overall emotional narrowing. There may be surges of groundless anxiety, panic attacks, or, on the other hand, baseless euphoria, where the elderly person starts feeling cheerful for no apparent reason, but begins crying half an hour later. How can you help? First of all, stay calm and patient. Arguing or demanding, "Go back to the way you were," is useless and harmful. Observe what triggers, especially strong emotional outbursts. Maybe it's noise, conflict in the room, or an unexpected memory sparked by something small: music, a smell. Sometimes a quieter, steadier environment, free of extra stimuli, bright lights, loud TV, can help. If mood swings are too severe, consider consulting a psychologist or psychiatrist, especially if you suspect depression. Mild sedatives prescribed by a doctor might ease the situation, but the key is to understand that changes in mood may be reflecting deep processes linked to the restructuring of the entire body. Sign 3. Decreased cognitive function and a gradual withdrawal from reality. Someone may start complaining about being scatterbrained, losing concentration, finding it hard to follow the logic of a conversation, even though they were previously quite sharp. Memory also falters. The older person might not recall the name of a neighbor they've known for 30 years, or forget what they spent money on yesterday. As time goes on, there are more and more episodes of drifting off, losing the thread of thought. What's the reason? It's not always classic dementia, although that could be a factor. Sometimes it's simply a set of age-related changes, exacerbated by possible microstrokes, vascular problems in the brain, and insufficient nutrition for neurons. When the body switches to a resource-saving mode, the brain also receives less energy. How it shows up in everyday life. The individual might put the kettle on and forget about it, or repeatedly ask the same question: "Have you come by today?" Pauses appear in their speech as though they're trying to remember words. Sometimes they mix up names of objects. They may lose interest in what's happening around them. A TV show is on, but they don't follow the plot. They flip through a book without grasping the content. Why is this important to notice? On the one hand, such lapses are a normal part of aging, but when they increase in frequency and become systematic, it signals that the brain is under serious strain. It's unpleasant to consider, but such a symptom might foretell a nearing departure. For relatives, this is a call for more delicacy. Don't force the person to be socially active if they're confused. Better to gently prompt them, but avoid ridicule. Meanwhile, during this stage, the older person may require increased supervision to avoid forgetting to turn off the gas, going outside without keys, or getting lost. Don't view these measures as taking away their freedom. Often a light level of guardianship is simply necessary. It can also help to give the brain gentle exercises. Looking through family photo albums together, asking simple questions about the recent day, but not overloading the person so as not to cause extra stress. Sign 4. Reduced activity and a gradual loss of interest in life. An elderly person who used to go for walks, take part in family gatherings, enjoy reading or knitting, suddenly becomes passive. They sit for hours in the same spot, stare blankly, and show no desire to go outdoors. Invitations that used to bring joy, "Let's help our granddaughter with shopping, let's go to the park," are met with indifferent agreement or direct refusal. No energy, no desire, maybe later. Why does this slowdown happen? It might be overall fatigue from illnesses, decreased cellular energy production. Some may have painful joints or back trouble. Others worry about their appearance. I'm uncomfortable showing myself in public. But if these problems use not to stop them from being at least somewhat active, and now they've lost all motivation, that's cause for concern. Often it indicates that the body's resources are diminishing and emotional morale is dipping. Notable details. The person stops caring about appearance, wearing the same clothes day after day, going without washing their hair for long stretches. This often reflects not just sloppiness, but a real lack of energy or incentive to care about themselves. Their interest in family events disappears. I don't care who got a new job or who's getting married. This may be both emotional and physical exhaustion. In some cases, the elderly person increasingly speaks about the futility of everything, or rarely finds joy in simple things like sunshine, good weather, or tasty food. How to respond. Don't try to force the person to be active, pushing them to go out or hold noisy celebrations. That approach will only wear them out and may cause resentment. Instead, offer types of relaxation that don't require a lot of energy. If they enjoy old films, turn on a quiet retro comedy. If they simply want to be in your company, sit next to them, offer a hug, speak softly about memories. Suggest a short 5-minute walk around the house if they feel able. The key is not allowing total isolation, but also not overloading them. At the same time, remember that such shut-down behavior might mask depression that requires medical help. If you notice the older person frequently expressing suicidal thoughts, crying, or seeing no point in continuing to live, consult a specialist, a psychologist, psychiatrist, or geriatrician. Proper support can lighten their emotional burden during this challenging period. Sign 5. Sleep disorders and a marked loss of time perception. The final sign, which often appears a few months before an elderly person passes, is significant sleep disturbance and a disruption in the sense of time. They might doze in a chair all day, then lie wide awake at night. Or they repeatedly get up during the night, confused about the hour. Sometimes, the older person suddenly decides it's morning at 3 a.m., starts getting ready for something or looks for food while the family is still asleep. Why does this happen? It's all about the breakdown of circadian rhythms. When internal clocks fail due to age-related changes in the brain and hormonal system, the body struggles to maintain the usual day-night cycle. Changes in the hypothalamus, reduced melatonin production. These are some physical reasons for such a shift. Plus, if there's pain, shortness of breath, or frequent urges to use the bathroom, that adds to the destruction of normal sleep patterns. Warning signs to watch out for constant complaints of insomnia, along with a clear refusal to go to bed at the usual time. The person may sleep on their feet during the day but remain awake all night, even though they say they're extremely tired. They confuse dates and sometimes ask, "What season is it now?" even though previously they tracked the calendar carefully. The style of their sleep changes. There might be extended periods of light drowsiness from which they easily awaken at any small noise, and then they slip back into a half-conscious state. How to help? Try creating the most comfortable sleep environment possible. Turn off excessive light sources if the elderly person doesn't need them. Use a soft nightlight if they're afraid of the dark. Talk to a doctor about mild sedatives, but strictly under medical guidance because the wrong medication can be dangerous. Strive to establish a brief bedtime routine, a warm, but not hot, bath, soft music, no loud chatter. If the person does wake at night and mixes up the time, react calmly. Sometimes it helps to mark somewhere in large letters, "It's night now, rest, morning will come later." If the disruptions become extremely serious, consider having someone live with them or check in frequently, ensuring they don't suddenly leave the house in the middle of the night without realizing what they're doing. All these 5 signs are serious red flags that often appear about a year, sometimes several months, before an elderly person's passing. They are not a sentence and do not inevitably mean death is right around the corner, but they do indicate the body is no longer coping with everyday demands as before and is gradually preparing for the final stage. By noticing them, family members can adjust their approach, provide more emotional warmth, avoid imposing too much physical strain, and set up a more flexible, gentle daily and sleep routine. It's important not to panic, but to realize that these changes are part of a natural process. Supporting your elderly loved one during this time not only eases their condition, but also helps you keep warmer memories, taking care of what matters most: peace, dignity, and the love that surpasses any aggressive medical interventions.